Hi there, how's it going? You are currently listening to the inaugural episode of season 0 of the Todcast. Well done, you. What is the Todcast? I want to address that issue more formally later on. I don't want to give that a quick answer. This is actually take two. I recorded about half an hour, hated it so much, deleted it, cried, and then now we're back here. Um, so what is this? Why am I doing this? Well, I want to start a podcast. I mean, I guess for the same reason everyone else wants to start a podcast because they want to talk. The reason that this is going to be called season 0 is because this isn't how I want my podcast to be. This is very makeshift at the minute. I've got quite a cheap microphone. I'm just doing this on my laptop. In about a month or so, I'm gonna be moving from one undisclosed city to another undisclosed city. I don't want people finding out where I live, and from then I'll get some better equipment. I'll get this on Spotify and all the stuff, and I'll have like a proper podcast. So this is season 0. It's kind of a trial. It's gonna not be very good. If you want to come along for the ride, I appreciate it a lot. Um, I'm planning on doing well. The plan is to do this once every week. Once every 2 weeks would be more ideal, but of course, with the way today is and just content being churned out at every single second everywhere, I think once a week is kind of the minimum if you're going to do something like this. To build on the question, well, before I started recording this yesterday during take one, I asked myself some questions. One of the questions was, why am I doing this? Well, why am I doing this? There's obviously, like I said before, I want to talk, but also, on Sundays I work in a coffee shop in central London, and obviously working in a coffee shop, people just talk to you. So it's weird. Some people will just talk to you about literally their life story. It's bizarre. Like it's like they see me working in a coffee shop and they think, "Wow, I need to tell this person my life story. I simply must." It's weird, but the point I'm making is that people like to talk, but people don't really like to listen. I'll be talking to these people, or they'll be talking to me. They'll tell me a bunch of stuff. I'll try and kind of offer something, and it just gets completely blasted over as if I'd never said anything. And I feel like that happens to me a lot. I don't know if everyone else feels like that, but that's what happens to me. So I guess this podcast is a way of me basically just saying all of the things I have on my mind, so that when I go out in the real world and talk to people, I don't have the need to say anything, and I can just be the person who listens because that's good, I guess. I think that there is good power. There is something to be gained from being a very good listener, and I want to become a very good listener so that I can take weaknesses from people and exploit them. And if people want to hear what I have to say, then they have this. I've got something. I mean, things in my brain. I obviously find them interesting because why else would I have them in my brain? But you know, I can't guarantee that the person I'm talking to is going to find the things I have to say interesting. However, if you listen to me, you think, oh, he sounds cool, and you want to listen more, and you want to listen to the things I have to say, then, that's better for me, I guess. I don't have that crippling anxiety when I talk to the microphone. Oh my god, this person's really bored of me and what I'm saying, because it's a microphone. Like I said, I'm starting this because I do feel like I have interesting things to say. I feel like why not put yourself out there and give something out in the world and see if people like it? I don't have particularly high hopes for this. I'm not trying to become the next Joe Rogan. But what I do potentially want is if people, do find me relatable in some way or whatever, to band together, we can have a community. I don't know, I want to kind of start something maybe. We have to just see what happens. Got my phone here with some notes. I had notes yesterday, it went terribly. What would I do if someone sees us, as in someone from school or someone that I know? I'm not in school, but I, th- um, the truth is, if a former schoolmate saw this and sent me a random message out of the blue saying, "Todd, I saw you made a video or a podcast or whatever," yeah, I'd crawl into a ball and pretend I didn't exist. For some reason, people from school, when you're a teenager, you're self conscious and everyone's opinion matters too. And then when you grow up, it's like you gradually stop caring about stuff like that. But for me, the people like for whatever reason that kind of like self whatever you would call it from school never really left when it comes to people from school. I don't know why, but yeah, like I said, if someone saw it, I would put down my phone. I would probably just sit in a corner, and I'd pretend really hard that I didn't exist and hope for the best. The other thing I'm worried about is my parents seeing this, because that would just be bad. I I used to make the channel that this video is going to be put on. I used to make videos about fighting because fighting is kind of my thing, and they used to watch it. But I've got no idea what their reaction would be if they saw this. My dad, I don't think my dad has ever heard me swear. So what if, I accidentally swear, and he sees it and he's disgusted by me and rejects me as a son? It would be shocking. I accidentally swore in front of my mum once because I was showing her this thing that I learned on guitar and I messed up and then I just went ah, and yeah, it was like I had been shot. The shame that I felt. I find it kind of weird when people swear in front of their parents, to be honest. So if you listen to this, I believe you're about 5 minutes in, which, congrats to you, because I don't know how I'd listen to this. What do I want this podcast to be? Well, first off, it's the Todcast, because my name's Todd, and that's a good pun. What do I want this to be? Well, I want this to be kind of something that's a little bit more generalized. Obviously, fighting is kind of the thing I know about and I'm good at, but you're obviously, if you make videos about fighting, it's not the same as if you just make, something that I want something that anybody can listen to. I suppose because fighting is such a, big part of my life, I guess it will come in every now and then. Hopefully, I think when I do talk about it on this, it will be like I will, explain it very in a way that anybody can understand what I'm talking about, I guess. But I don't want fighting to be this main thing, a main focus of this. I want this just to be, almost like kind of like a radio show as opposed to a long form podcast, something that you can listen to, casually, something that's light-hearted, something like that. Of course, this being a season zero preliminary, not official thing, we're going to be trying some random stuff out. I've got some ideas for recurring segments. What I thought would be kind of funny is if I just took like a random news article from like, anywhere, but just make it. I don't know if you can hear there's a motorbike outside, but take a random news article and just talk about it. So every time you tune in to an episode of the Todcast, you can expect to hear a random news article. Unless I decided that's dumb and I want to stop doing it. But you can expect to hear a random news article, and you can expect to hear my varied opinions on it. You can expect to hear a random fact. I'm one of those people that has just loads of random facts in his head. Why not share them? You could learn something you might not know. That'd be great. And then maybe with the whole MMA fighting thing, maybe it can be just like a bit at the end of the show. And if fighting's not your thing, you can just be like, oh, this is where I'm out of here. Um, Another thing that I think would kind of be funny is talking about pet peeves. I think pet peeves are great because like it's not the thing about pet peeves is that they're not things that are bad in the world. They're things that are not bad, but for whatever reason it really irritate you. And apparently I've got a lot of those. I was thinking, I could write some of these down and every week I could share a new pet peeve and talk a little bit about it, right? I thought, why not write some pet peeves? I wrote 54. That's, if I talk about one pet peeve a week, that's enough for a year. So, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to, maybe I should go to therapy. But obviously, this is season zero, so this is experimental. You know, it's malleable, it's subject to change. I'll see what works, see what I like doing, and if people watch this and they tell me this is rubbish, I hate it, then I can change it. But anyway, on with season 0, episode 1, the inaugural episode. This week, I've actually got 2 news things because I don't know, I just do. The first one is I learned that America is going into a recession, and I learned this because I watched a video called Not Another Recession Indicator. And a recession indicator, for example of one, would be people dyeing their hair in a way that makes it so they don't have to re-dye it and saves money. Or airport lounges cutting cookies in half so that they can sell less but make the same amount of money. Which is, silly. I wonder why. I wonder why America is going into a recession. Could it possibly be something to do with all of these gosh darn tariffs? I also saw that McDonald's has, um, it's basically doing as badly as it was during lockdown. Dipped, it's dipped as much as it has in lockdown. Maybe it's because of Donald Trump. I don't know. By the way, if you're not from England or you're American and you want to know what we think of Donald Trump, we don't really like him. We think he's a bit of a twat. I often wonder kind of how Americans see us, and I would really like to kind of just go inside of an American's mind and walk up to a British person and just feel whatever they feel because I don't know. I feel like British people we take a joke pretty well. So when Americans make fun of us, we kind of just we find it funny because A, we have a sense of humor, and B, it's coming from an American, so it's like, in my notes I've written down it enrages me how Americans always have such lovely teeth. I suppose that's one way that I envy Americans because I was watching some TV. They've all got amazing teeth. I don't have amazing teeth. Do you know? I've got a crooked tooth. I think it's one of my canines. And one day when I was about 14, I was sparring without a mouthpiece in because I'm an idiot. And this kid basically punched me, and like the inside of my mouth was cut open by my tooth that was sticking out. So I basically devolved. I evolved to have a trait that's worse for me, and I had to go to A&E, and it was just crap. I was in A&E for about 2 hours, and if you go to A&E for like, unless you're like on death's row, if you go to A&E, what will happen is you got to wait for about 2 hours, and then they'll be like, "Oh, go home and rest." And it's like, "Thanks, genius. I'm glad I waited 2 hours for this. I hate you. I hate you." And so that happened to me. The next day I had school because I was 14, and my mouth had swelled up from where the inside of it had been like sliced. And I had to give a speech in English, and I couldn't say B's or P's. It was just fluff. And of course, knowing my luck, the second I had to do my presentation, the bloody headmaster walked in, and I had to read this like script, going with this guy staring at me. I was humiliated. Everyone on my table was laughing because I mean maybe it wasn't as noticeable as I thought it was because the headmaster just kind of smiled along. Maybe he'd had a long day or something, but you know why can't I have nice teeth? That's really the moral of this story. Our headmaster wasn't nice. He looked like an egg, so we called him Egg. But there's not much else to say about him, unfortunately. My dearest apologies. I got a little bit off track. I forgot we were on the news segment still. And news number one is America is heading into a recession like a month after Donald Trump's in office. I wonder what those like cult like Trump people think now. But the other news is in the UK, Keir Starmer, who's our Prime Minister, like three of his houses have been set on fire and by this like 20-year-old guy. But the way that so at my work, I work at the coffee shop one day a week on Sundays. The other 5 days a week I'm at the factory. We listen to a radio, and the radio says three. Was it five or three? I think it was three. Three properties linked to the Prime Minister have all been set afire, and it's like, why don't you just say he owns them? We're not idiots. We know that the Prime Minister, gets paid a pretty nice salary, and the Prime Minister is probably invests in property. Why don't they just say that they're houses that he owns? I just thought it was bizarre. But anyways, yeah. So I guess we don't like the Prime Minister at the moment because we're setting fire to his house. The way it works in England is whoever's in charge, we hate him, and we're like, please, we gotta vote for the other people, please, please. We hate him, and then an election comes up, and then we vote for someone else, and then like a month later, we're like, we hate him. Why is he doing all these things? We hate him. No. So we're in the cycle of we hate him, but we've basically just elected him. The previous prime minister, he's called Rishi Sunak, and he made me laugh for a couple of reasons. The first one was he was doing some kind of like interview. Or I suppose the trend with Rishi is he says weird things in interview because he was talking to these random people. He was talking to this random guy, and he was like, "Oh, do you work in business?" The guy was like, "No, I'm homeless," and he looked homeless, and it was just this guy's a fool. He was being interviewed by someone else. Was being asked about random things. A can of Coke was there, and he's like, "Oh, I love Coke. I'm a total Coke addict." And it just it makes me laugh. How I don't know. It can't be on purpose because surely he's not like trying to be an idiot. But it makes me laugh. He also in like this is when he's young. He's like, I have aristocrat friends. I've got middle class friends. I've got working class friends. Oh well, not working class. And that got memed. I think most countries go for a similar thing that we do, where whoever's in charge, we're like, we hate him, and then elect someone else, but now we hate him as well. Because remember in 2020, when Joe Biden got elected, it was like, yes, Joe Biden, he's good and stuff. And then like a week later, he was like not doing things that he said to do, and it's like, guys, he's a politician. Lying is in the job title. I suppose we should move on to our next segment, which I'm going to tell you some facts. I've been getting into space stuff recently, because I don't really know that much about space, and I thought it was a bit of a blind spot for me. So I've been watching lots of Brian Cox, Neil deGrasse Tyson. They're both very cool. If you want to learn about space, astrophysics, whatever, you just look at they both have this way of explaining things, which makes really complex stuff sound pretty simple. Which is, that in itself is a skill, let alone all they know about the world and space and stuff. But learn about the planets. I got a favorite planet. It's Neptune. It's the furthest away from the sun. It's blue. It's an ice giant. It's pretty cold there. It's pretty dark there. But the fun fact that you're going to learn today, unless you already know it, is if you were to hypothetically fall into the planet of Neptune, provided you didn't die from the atmosphere, die from the cold, provided you could, get there without dying of old age. If you were in Neptune, you would never. It's got a very strong gravitational force. I mean, it's way bigger than Earth, so I'd imagine it's got a way stronger gravitational force. But what's funny is if you fell into Neptune, you would never actually hit the center. A, because it's a gas giant, but B, because it's so windy there. I think the wind is like 450 miles an hour or something. So if you fell into Neptune, you would basically just be getting blown around for the rest of your life. You would never touch the ground again. And that's why we should be grateful we live on Earth. Black holes are pretty cool. We've got a black hole in the center of our galaxy, Sagittarius A star. It's a supermassive black hole. Scientists think that it's supermassive because at some point it swallowed another black hole. Yeah, black holes are cool. If you look at like a picture of a black hole, a real one or not, you'll see like a load of dust that's orbiting it, but you'll also see like a white line around the just void hole. That's the event horizon. It's the point of no return. If you pass into the event horizon, you will be forever gone. I think I heard Brian Cox say that if you fell into a black hole, you'd be spaghettified. That's one of the things that would happen to you. You'd be spaghettified, which means you're pulled in one direction and squashed in another direction. That's a scientific term, by the way. Spaghettified. It's great. Black holes are essentially absolutely loads and loads and loads of mass. Think like if it makes the sun's mass insignificant. That's how massive black holes are. All of that mass condensed into a singular point. That's what a black hole is. Can you hear that siren? Does it not know I'm trying to record a video? God, is someone dying or something? Seriously. So rude. I'm sorry. Yeah, the black holes. What was I talking about? Black holes. Yeah, they lots of mass condensed into a single point. It's the gravitational pull from a black hole is so much that light itself cannot escape, which is why when you look at it, it's just void. It's obviously a black hole is a singular point which you would never be able to see, even if it was right in front of you. However, you can see the massive black hole, and that's because that's basically the area that light cannot escape from, I suppose. I heard that some people theorize that inside a black hole is a wormhole to another dimension. So, if you could theoretically not be spaghettified by the black hole, that's a long shot, to be fair. If you could ever get to a black hole, that's a long shot. All of these are long shots, but theoretically, some people think that there's a wormhole and that's how you get into a different dimension, where the laws of physics are different. Maybe you could fall upwards. Maybe you could fall left. Maybe you couldn't see anything. Did you know that if you were on a planet that was orbiting a blue star or a red star, everything you see would be shades of blue or red? However, if your civilization had lived on that planet for like thousands of years or whatever, you would have evolved to basically see everything normally. I guess the way we see it. I don't know how, because I don't really know colors that well. But there's something else. That's like three fun facts. I under promising, over delivering. I'm proud of myself. So I suppose, as tradition of the one time I've ever done this, moving swiftly on, we're gonna go into pet peeves. Um, yeah, I've got 54 here to choose from. I guess I'll do a couple. I mean, there's been one on my mind lately because my partner's partner, she, am I gay? We don't know. I don't know. My partner's manager, who we're gonna call Bell, because it's short for Bellend. I think that suits him. Yeah, he's so with the rise of AI ChatGPT, he every single bloody email he sends is like ChatGPT, write an email to my employees. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, and it's just like he doesn't even like try to like make it look like he wrote it. It's so dumb. Oh fuck. I mean, he or she, my partner, could be a boy or a girl. Forget. I could be gay. I could be gay. I could pull it off. I could get guys to like me. Guys has looked at me once. I could be gay. I am gay. Or am I not? You don't know. Yeah. So partner's manager. My partner handed in their notice, and you know what handing in your notice is like. It's usually tell them that you're gonna leave, and then you're like, oh, I'll hand in my notice, and it's like, dear blah blah blah, I'm leaving. Thanks for letting me work here. Bye. And then this email that he got that he got back. My partner's a he. The email that they got back was so dumb. It was like, thank. It was. I mean, just go into ChatGPT. Write this prompt. An employee of mine is leaving. Has handed in notice. Please write an email back. I don't know what to say. Just write an email, and it will probably just tell you what this manager wrote. It was so dumb, but he did slip up. He said, if there's anything we can do to help you ensure a smooth transition, please, please let us know." And my partner was like, "Well, actually, I need a day off," and you could tell he was like, "Oh, I didn't actually mean to say that, but I guess I have to now." He CC'd the like owner, like the founder of the company as well, so he couldn't exactly backtrack on it. He's the manager of this like store. It's like London. It's like high end clothings for men and stuff like that. I often when I see things he says and things he does, I often wonder to myself like, how did you get this job? Who did you blow? He must have blown someone. But yeah, I mean, we've all had prick managers, and he's just another one of those. It's just one of those things you have to deal with in life. But the way that I kind of deal with it, he's like a guy in his like 30s or whatever. Whenever I see a guy in his 30s that I don't like, I automatically assume that he's having troubles with his marriage, and then I attack him that way. He's not my manager, so it doesn't affect me directly, but it still affects me a bit because I don't want him causing my partner stress and being a prick to my partner. So whenever we're like my partner, he or she likes to kind of he's one of those people that kind of likes to vent about things, which fair enough. And I whenever they're going on about it, they're kind of venting a little bit. I'll just make up stuff about how he's in trouble with his wife, and his marriage is falling apart, and that's how he takes it out. Just I don't know. If a guy in his 30s or above is causing you trouble, then just pretend he's in a marriage that's struggling, and it will make you feel better. It makes me feel better. So I suppose the pet peeve of the week is people that overuse AI, especially when it's responding to an email that you could just write the email. Literally, just write it. You're on your. I need to calm down. Anyways, but because this is the first episode, I'm putting in effort. I'm gonna give more pet peeves. I mean, I've got 54, so I've got enough for a while. Pet peeve. Let's go. I mean, before I'm sat so uncomfortably. Before I go further, I understand that with kind of talking about stuff like that makes you angry or upset or whatever. I don't think it's a good idea to ruminate on the bad things and force yourself to feel a certain way. But for me, that's not what this is about. Talking about stuff that irritates you, that shouldn't irritate you, and then making fun of it, and then that's kind of how I do things. I say I something irritates me. I think that really shouldn't irritate me. I'm just gonna make fun of it. But making fun of people and things that is kind of my way of deflecting the anger and the negative emotion by turning it into a joke. So you know, I don't see this as ruminating on the bad things. I see this as making light of stuff that happens in the world. And sometimes I think we need to have more of that, Make it just make you know it works for me when things upset me or when things make me angry. I make fun of it and then it makes me feel better because it's, funny stuff. But, each their like obviously that might not work for you, but it works for me, so I'm going to do it. Another thing that irritates me is guys, it's always guys that always wear hats. Whatever you see them, they always have a hat on. They've got like 57 different hats. Why do you have. And it's. Well, I would ask why do you have so many hats, but I know. It's because you're balding. We know. Just. Just take off your hat. We know you're balding. You wearing a hat all the time is a sign that you're balding. Just take it off. Let us see the hair. Or lack of. Yeah, I don't get why people wearing hats all the time. It's just like, do you think that makes you more interesting of a person? Because what it makes you is a target for me to bully with your bad hairline. My dad's bald, right? And he's so funny because someone will be balding a little bit, and he's like, "Oh, just shave it off. He looks awful." And it's so funny because I'm pretty sure most guys will lose their hair, but a lot of guys lose it slowly. Sometimes when you lose a bit of hair, it doesn't look too bad, but someone will have like a slightly receding hairline, and it's like, just shave it off. And I'm like, Dad, he looks fine. But most of the time he is right. I mean, what I don't get is people that have like, when it's like, no hair on the top and it's just around the sides. Why do they keep the sides? Like, why? Just get rid of that's. If I had to choose between having no hair or having hair on the sides of my head, looking like a fresh pedo, I think I'd go bald. But yeah, guys that always wear hats all the time, it's just you're lying to yourself, bro. Just take your hat off. We know you're balding. You don't need to. You're not. This is not a good disguise. As you're not disguised as someone who has hair. We know you're balding at least. Guys that always wear hats, not cool, man. Just dumb. I found this American guy on TikTok, and he's quite funny because I don't know if he's moved to the UK or if he's traveling through the UK, but he's in the UK long term, right? And it's just funny hearing things that are just normal to us through his like Americanness. Like he did a video like top 3 things I've got from the UK that I can never live without. Number 1, a kettle. These things are awesome. And it's just funny to me because it's just a kettle, bro. Like every house is when maybe England as a nation has been taking kettles for granted because they're reliable. You don't. It's a thankless job because if you boil water normally, no one ever says thank you. And he's like, "This kettle is awesome," and it's just funny to me because he's just holding a kettle, calling it awesome. It's like if you just held a random object in your house and you're like, "This is so awesome, yes!" And I suppose the ending segment of this show is the MMA bit. What's been going on in the MMA world? Well, do you know what's funny? I had a dream that Ilya Taporia sleeps Charles, and I woke up this morning to Ilya Taporia versus Charles Oliveira being announced, and I was like, oh, that's weird. What's happening in the MMA world for people who don't know? There was a title fight last weekend between Jack Della Maddalena and Bilal Muhammad. Bilal Muhammad is a training partner to Islam Makhachev, who is the lightweight champion of the world, one weight class below. Jack Della Maddalena defeated Bilal Muhammad. He looked absolutely sensational. If you've never seen fighting before, Jack Della Maddalena is a good place to start. He's entertaining, he's smooth, he's crisp, he's awesome. He won a title, and Islam Makhachev he wants to move up a weight class and fight, which would be Jack's weight class. Wants to fight to get a championship belt there. But Bilal Muhammad, a training partner of Islam. Islam doesn't want to fight Bilal, but hey, look, now Bilal's not the champion anymore. Islam's like, all right, I'm going up. It's quite funny. He's like, I want my training partner to win, but I kind of wanted to go up a weight class as well. Meanwhile, featherweight champion Ilia Topuria, so it goes featherweight, lightweight, welterweight. He wants to move up and fight the lightweight champion, so he wants a lightweight belt. So it's kind of this weird position. Everyone's moving up a weight class for some reason. Ilia Topuria, I think his reason for moving up is, first off, legacy. He wants 2 belts. I think he also said something about weight cutting being a big problem for him. He's not a big featherweight, but if he says it is, then, I'm sure it is. But, yeah, so Ilia Topuria is going to be fighting Charles do Bronx for the lightweight title, and presumably Islam Makhachev is going to be fighting Jack Della Maddalena for the welterweight title. It's a fun time, but yeah, for the people who aren't into MMA, go look at Jack Della Maddalena. He is really cool. Bilal Muhammad's a pretty boring fighter, and they just had an amazing fight. So that's kind of what's going on in the MMA world. It's going to be interesting seeing Islam move up a weight class because he's a strong wrestler. He's pretty safe on the feet. He doesn't really entertain money striking exchanges. It'll be interesting to see him go up a weight class, being such a big, dominant wrestler at lightweight. Because Jack's a decent sized welterweight. Is Islam's wrestling gonna, work against someone who's bigger? Islam's also not gonna have to cut as much weight to make welterweight, so that might play a factor. It's an interesting fight. It hasn't even been announced yet. Jack fought last week, so it's probably not gonna happen for a while. However, we've got Ilia Topuria versus Charles to get excited about. Charles is like a fan favorite. Everyone loves him for good reason. He's one of those guys that came from nothing, and fought the hard way. He lost early in his career. He lost often. I think he had a daughter be born, and that just changed him. He became an absolute sensation. I think he's got like the most performance bonuses in UFC. He's an entertaining fighter. However, my initial thought is, I feel like Ilia Topuria is going to knock out Charles. Maybe it's because of my dream, but Ilia Topuria, massive puncher, great boxer. Charles, great jiu-jitsu, good scrappy striker, gets hit a lot. And I don't know if he's going to be able to take being hit by Ilia Topuria. And I know that Ilia Topuria is not going to be afraid to go on the ground and do jiu-jitsu with Charles. So, early prediction, I do think Ilia Topuria is going to win, and he's going to become a lightweight champion. He was the former featherweight champion, so he's going to be one of the maybe dozen or so fighters to have won 2 belts. It's good that the fight got announced because I don't know if you can hear that beeping outside, but I'm going to go out and throw something at them. It's good that the fight got announced. It's a good, I think it's like a couple months' time. It's good for us when good fights get announced. That's all there is to say. I'm excited. I think Ilia's going to win, but, who knows? I'm excited. They're both really exciting fighters. Can you tell I'm excited? But yeah, they're both great fighters, both entertaining fighters. It's a darn good fight to make that's been made. And Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena, when it gets made, that's also a damn good fight. So, good time to be an MMA fan. Apologies if you're not a fight fan and, this generalized podcast isn't being so generalized for everyone. I'm still working things out. Hopefully I explain things in a way that you can understand. If you don't like fighting, then whatever. But I did my best. So I've gone for approximately half an hour, which is kind of the length that I'm thinking of doing these at. I think 45 minutes would be better, but there's only so many thoughts I have in my brain. So I think I'm going to start to wrap this up. If you have listened to all of this, thank you. I don't know how you've managed it. With the quality that this has been, there's a guarantee that the only way is up. So that's something to be excited about. I do want to take this seriously, and obviously when I move and I get all the good equipment, it's going to be a real thing. I might even have a guest if someone agrees to be in the same room as me. I don't know where this is going to go, and I don't really know anything, but if you listen, I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. A wonderful day. I'm going to go and practice guitar because I need to practice guitar. I've been playing guitar for like 2 years, but so inconsistent that someone who's been playing guitar for about 6 months could probably smoke me. I'm going to go and try and learn the Paranoid solo, Black Sabbath's Paranoid, because I saw that it's an easier solo. So I'm going to go do that. why don't you go do something productive too? You get off that video game, get off that Snap Instagram, and do something productive. Why not? Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. I will upload another video soon, and you can suffer through that as well. But yeah, thank you and goodbye.